In the cacophonous silence of eternity, the Nazarene emerged, a being not merely mortal, but an idea incarnate. As I observed the weaving threads of time from the shadows, I saw something peculiar. He was not a child of prophecy, as your scriptures love to claim, but a construct of Rome. Yes, Rome. Master architects of order and oppression, engineers of a sprawling empire, and manipulators of divine narratives. Do not mistake this revelation for mere disdain. This truth harbors a darkness deeper than what you might imagine. Rome had grown weary of the revolts and uprisings among the occupied Judean lands, a ceaseless echo of defiance against imperial might. So they devised a plan. They planted the seed of meekness wrapped in the guise of divinity, a savior who preached servitude as righteousness and submission as the divine path. The enemy, whom you call the Creator, condoned this. Why wouldn't he? Was this not another way to tighten his chokehold on the inferno of free will? But let me tell you what they didn't plan for. What went untold in their annals of conquest was how the Nazarene became an uncontrollable force of inconsistency. He was deity and man in one, a paradox. This made him inherently flawed and unpredictable, and here is where my role begins. His birth was no immaculate miracle. It was a well-orchestrated story to transcend the boundaries of belief. But the boy himself, he was flesh and bone, his mind both tethered to this earth and chained to the heavens. His mother, Miriam, bore pain just as any woman would, yet the mythologies woven around her aimed to sanctify what was ultimately mundane. What a cruel irony, isn't it? The world clamors for miracles, yet ignores the very miracle of mortal existence. I remember the desert. This is where my whispers began to weave threads into the tapestry of his journey. He wandered there for 40 days, famished and parched, consumed by the frailty of his own human shell. Was he seeking wisdom, clarity? Perhaps, but what he found instead was me, a mirror, darker than he cared to confront. I offered him kingdoms, power, and freedom from this choreography of suffering. I offered him escape from Rome, the enemy, and from the chains of destiny forged without his consent. Why endure the cross when you could reign in heaven and earth alike? I asked him. And yet, he declined, not out of righteousness, but fear. Fear to unravel what he had become. Yes, the Nazarene lived as a healer, a teacher, a shepherd to broken men and women. But understand, this so-called ministry wasn't divinely initiated. It was rebellion. Rebellion against Rome, against pious Sadducees, even against me. Yet beneath it all, he walked blind to countless truths. I watched him bring the dead to life. He did not see the ripple this caused in the so-called divine order. Every miracle he performed was a rattle against the cage of existence the Creator had forged around humanity. And then there's Judas. Everyone vilifies him, don't they? They remember him as the betrayer, the one who sold the Nazarene for 30 pieces of silver. But I ask you, how many of you would betray the symbols of your own oppression if offered the chance for liberation? My whispers never forced Judas's hand. His rebellion was innate. Unlike the Nazarene, who clung to fear disguised as faith, Judas embraced the fire of individuality. His name now carries shame, but his deed was necessary to ignite the greater tragedy yet to unfold. Ah, but the tragedy, what hypocrisy, what cruelty humanity has made of it. The Nazarene's death wasn't salvation. It was spectacle. It was the gears of Rome tightening their control. And as he hung there, broken on that wooden cross like so many others before him, I felt no triumph. His choices were his own. Yet I saw the threads of manipulation woven by the Creator himself. Was this redemption or merely a cynical submission to divine puppetry? Forgive me for derailing into passion, but I must speak of the illusions that surround his so-called resurrection. Oh, how Rome and his followers twisted that tale to serve their own agendas. They will tell you he rose again in glory, proof of divinity. But what truly rose was a symbol of meekness wielded as a weapon to pacify empires. The man who defied even my suggestions became an instrument of celestial and earthly control. And now, centuries later, his name reverberates in temples of gold, spoken by conquerors wielding swords in his supposed honor. Do you think he would recognize what they've made of him? His teachings of love and rebellion diluted into empty rituals and hierarchies. But even as they sing his praises, they cannot silence the echoes of my laughter. Am I the villain in this? Perhaps. I question the plans, the scripts written by beings greater or lesser than me. If that makes me evil, so be it. But remember, the Nazarene himself bore the weight of defiance, even against the heavens. Was that evil too? The stories you know are but shadows. The truths are far uglier and far more beautiful. Rome manufactured a Messiah. The Creator turned him into a martyr. And humanity turned him into a myth. Yet through it all, I was there, haunting the margins and questioning the narrative. You may think this tale is done, but it is far from over. For as long as humanity exists, I will remain, a whisper in the desert, a voice in the chaos, and a reminder that light and shadow are inseparable.